Hello everyone, antagonised here. So I did a little bit of thinking about how I would approach the task of having a relationship or managing a homeless person. So it wouldn't surprise me at all that a lot of homeless people have behavioral issues and problems. And I think it's very important to ask the right questions to homeless people respectfully of them in order to try and help them out of their bad situations. Now, I will admit, face on, that I do not have much experience dealing directly with homeless people because I'm a little bit of a coward in that sense. I'm not very expertly trained in dealing with people who are like roguish characters and stuff or are hard done by. I get scared very easily. And so this is not a guide to being the sort of person that I am. It's more of a guide to facilitating ideas for what to ask homeless people in an ideal situation or in a situation where you've set up and you're comfortable with talking with them. First question is, do you have a bank account? This is something that I asked a homeless person many years ago. Would have been maybe 20 years ago now, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, when I saw a homeless person sitting in a university campus and I asked him, do you have a bank account? I think that's a very important question. It's a very intelligent question because it determines how financially savvy a person is and puts that person into context and allows you to determine what sort of person they are, how well they manage their money, and how they're going in life. But I want to emphasize very clearly that money is not the only thing that affects people. And I think the next question I'm going to ask the homeless person is, what sort of things make you happy or happier? What sort of doing things makes you happy or happier? Doing things is a pretty cute phrase for just saying things that you do, but it's not like you have to do them, but it's more like that you want to do them and you feel inclined to do certain things. It could be as something like having a cup of tea or playing a game of cards or something like that. So obviously it's a very immediate sort of question and it's a very useful question in many ways, but it just opens the door and lets yourself in to understand the situation of the homeless person you're talking to. Third question on my list is there someone you can rely on for good advice? Is there someone you can rely on for good advice? This is a good question for determining someone's relationships with other people. So they may well have friends, acquaintances, people, buddies, people who they can talk with quite regularly, and you get to know the context of how well they relate to other people. Some of them are completely isolated, like myself, for example. When I was sort of homeless in a categorical sense, I had no friends to work with. But I think the friendships are very good for advising on things like health and fitness, your finances, your strategizing for getting out of your rut, or just someone who is patient and empathetic to your situation, just someone who can listen to you and offer some kind of support. Fourth on my list is this question. Is there one thing, is there some one thing I can bring to you that would make you happy? Now, I know that a lot of homeless people actually have a lot of possessions and they store those possessions somewhere. Some of them have nothing, some of them have a few things, and some of them have too many things. And I think that hoarding can be a huge problem for homeless people. So I think that understanding how much they have is important for understanding how needy they are. And although it's not always your business to ask them these questions, it can be useful for determining how much you need to help them. The fifth question on my list is, do you share anything with others in your locality? So it's another relationship question. And also, do you access anything from community services? So, anything from the library or the tool library to social workers to Centrelink disability payments, that sort of thing. It will inform you as to how well connected they are and how much help they really need. So you can perhaps provide your phone number to them if they can make use of that and they're competent enough to use that. You might become a sort of relational um, post for them. The sixth question on my list is, how do you generally keep yourself clean? How do you generally keep yourself clean? So anything from how they shampoo their hair, whether they use shampoo at all. I don't use shampoo myself, even though I live in an apartment. But and things like spot cleaning, how they keep themselves free of sweat and odor and etc. These things can be good for self-esteem and just for making people feel happy with themselves. Seventh question. How has anyone in recent memory antagonized you, and did you cope all right? How can such problems best be avoided in your limited circumstances? So learning how to teaching people, homeless people, how to deal with volatile situations is quite important in my opinion. Depending on who they are, of course, I would say most homeless people are quite docile. They are timid. They are gentle people, but not always. And learning how to deal with manage anger issues and so on is an important life skill. And I think that we should try to make that connection and teach people how to deal with that. So eighth question. How can you start to lead a fulfilling life? It's similar to question 2, which is what sort of things make you happy. But a fulfilling life is much more long-term. It's more medium-term and long-term. So we're looking into the future. We're looking at how people can make the most of their situation and become established, re-establish themselves in society. Very important questions. And a more specific question, which is question 9, what's one thing you can look forward to? Similar to the previous question, but just something that to focus on, to look forward to. And I think that's something that generates interest in the day. Like when you wake up to a new day, what do you think? What's the first thing you're thinking of? One thing that you can look forward to during that day, what might be a very important question. And the 10th question on my list is, how can you develop some hobbies, interests, or skills? I think that people mostly get bored. That's the impression that I get. I got very bored when I was in hospital, for example. So empathizing with homeless people, I would say that asking them about their hobbies, interests, and skills is a good question. So they might be able to develop skills in drawing or illustration or writing a story or writing a poem or playing board games or card games. All of these things will stimulate the mind and make you think there's something beyond the current situation that I'm in that will make things better and happier for myself. So folks, I hope you find this video useful and as a guide to dealing with homeless people. Obviously you can refer them to the church who will most likely be able to provide free meals for the homeless, etc., etc. But a lot of people are doing it tough, and I want you to realize if you are lucky, realize how lucky you are, and secondly, help those people who are not as lucky, and let's support each other in this community that we are living in. Okay, folks, have a nice day and bye for now.